Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello everybody and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and I am your host. Now we're here talking to you about metaphysics and spirituality, and our goal always is to uplift, inspire and expand your concept about intuitive gifts, mystical experiences, paranormal occurrences and supernatural phenomena. Now, every week we have a theme. Today's theme is spirit guides. This is always a popular subject. People are fascinated about this, so I thought that we'd have a little bit of a chat about them. And first up, what is a spirit guide? I mean, I'm sure some of you will have a concept already about what this is. And actually, there are many different types of spirit guides. So, for example, some of you might think about angels, might think about having a guardian angel when you think about what is a spirit guide. Another example is, think about when you were a child. Did you have an invisible friend? This is a common childhood experience, and oftentimes the parents and the adults will say, "Oh, don't you know, it's your imagination and you'll grow out of it." But actually, it can be that the child is communicating with a spirit guide. Another type of spirit guide are ascended masters. And these are enlightened beings, and some examples would be Buddha, Muhammad, even, Jesus. All of these beings that have reached a level of enlightenment and mastery over their existence here in the physical world, and they can teach us about how to do the same. That's another example of a kind of spirit guide. There are others too. So, there are certain belief systems where the ancestors are really important. So the ancestors can act as a kind of spirit guide. Even in the West, you see a lot of people will go to the, spiritualist churches when they've had a loved one who's passed away and want to find a medium that will help them communicate with that loved one. And they'll often be looking for advice. So even in the West, we sometimes turn to, family members who've passed on to the other side to communicate with. And then there are other groups of spirit guides. So, for example, another one is animal totems. And this is a really common one in the shamanic belief systems. And that the animals are imbued with innate wisdom. And so the behavior of the animals can be a way of receiving spiritual information. And then finally, one of my favorites, nature spirits. So this is the Devic kingdom, things like fairies and so on. And, the spirits that look after nature. It's my favorite because I've written a book about them called The Midas Tree, which is a novel, and a lot of the characters in that novel are nature spirits. So that gives you a little bit of a summary about spirit guides, but, how are they like us, and how are they different to us? Well, the first thing is we have a physical body. Spirit guides, normally, they don't have a physical body. They are pure spirit. That's why we call them a spirit guide. Even though, to be perfectly honest, even though we've got bodies, we are spirit too. The whole of existence is spirit. But anyway, we have a body and they don't. The other thing is we have a gender and they don't. So they're neither male nor female, though sometimes they can appear to you with a male valence or a female valence. And the other difference is we exist in time and space, and they don't. And so because of that, they often have a broader perspective than we do, because we can only see right in front of our noses in a very focused piece of creation, whereas they're able to see a much broader sweep of past, present, future, and so on. Now, one of the biggest myths about spirit guides that I like to demystify is that a lot of people believe that they are all very enlightened. And actually it's actually not true. Because just as there are many personalities wandering around here on Earth in physical bodies, there are also many different personalities and levels of being in the spirit world. So some of them are very advanced in terms of the information that they have and the way in which they can help you. And these would be like the ascended masters and other enlightened beings, and of course the angelic realm and so on. But as well as those, there are, all levels of entity from there to the other extreme. And in some cases they have had physical bodies and lived lives on planet Earth, for example Jesus. In other cases they haven't, for example the angels. And some souls actually might alternate, spend some time as a guide, have a few more experiences in the physical world. Now, how can a spirit guide help you? Well, they can help in all sorts of ways, from healing, helping you with a personal healing project, helping you with a manifestation project, something that you want to create, helping you to attune to information about things that you're interested in. And one of the very best things that they are really great at is helping you be amused, helping you not to take life so seriously. So if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling sad, then asking your favorite spirit guide for a little bit of a boost can really uplift your spirits. They can also help cleaning energy in physical spaces. They can help you find things, and even if you're out shopping, find the best bargains. There's no end to how a spirit guide can help you. And in fact, oftentimes, just like we in the physical world specialize in a particular subject, you'll often get spirit guides that have a particular specialty. So, for example, one might be a specialist in healing. Another one might be a specialist in manifestation. And so, depending on what you are wanting to do, a different guide might be, the best one to ask for some help from. And of course, just as I was talking about, it's very important that you make sure that, you are connecting with a guide that is aligned with the light. And of course, there are ways of actually, doing that and checking that out. So what else about spirit guides? I'm often asked, a lot of people are under the impression that only certain special people are able to communicate with guides. And it's simply not true. Every single human being is able to communicate with spirit. Every single human being has spiritual abilities. And so everyone can talk to their guides if they want to, and if they put some focus into opening up and developing how to do that. And of course, one of the main challenges in communicating with your spirit guide is, I mentioned earlier, they are spirit, which means they have a very high frequency, a very high vibration of love and light, whereas you, because you're in a dense physical body, you have a much lower frequency. And so in all spiritual communication, what we're needing to do is find a way to bridge that gap, either by you raising your frequency, maybe them lowering their frequency a little bit, so that a connection can be made. Which brings me to the next thing. How do spirit guides communicate. And you know what? That's probably a really great time for me to read out the call-in number again, because if you are interested in communicating with your spirit guide, I'm be really delighted to help you to do that if you phone into the show today. So the number is 604 504 7441, extension 4142. And of course, as always, if you're feeling a little bit shy and you don't want to be live on air, then you're welcome to email info@drlesleyphillips.com. And Lesley is EY and Phillips has 2 L's, and ask your question to us that way, and we'd be happy to use a made-up name for you as well. So, back to this question of how do they communicate? And they'll use any way that they can find to get through to you, actually, whether or not you have focused on activating and opening your spiritual abilities or not. So, for example, just through different signs and symbols that are reflected back at you in your life. I had a lady come to me for a reading a few weeks ago, and she was being bombarded by communications from angels. And one of the main things that kept happening to her was just like feathers, just appearing and landing everywhere in her life. And she always would take that to be a symbol that that was the angels communicating with her. Or she'd go to a garage sale and there'd be a statue of an angel, and somehow she'd have to have it, and that was a sign of the angels communicating with her. So that's how they were, getting through to her. Different synchronicities, being led to events and people that are going to help you in your spiritual growth or in your life in some way. That can often be you can often be helped in that way. It can often be your spirit guides that's doing that. Another way that they will communicate with you, and these first few ways are all, if you haven't developed your own intuition, they'll use ways that bypass the intellect, because that's one of the biggest blocks that we have to connecting with our intuition. So dreams is the next way. You might dream about your animal totem. You might dream about an angel, and that would be your spirit guides communicating with you. Now, the next way that is how I teach people really is through meditation. And the reason that meditation is such a fantastic way at helping you communicate as spirit is because it does what I said earlier. It helps you raise your vibration. And the more you raise your vibration, the more you're able to tune into the angelic realms and the different higher vibration beings that exist all around us. Now, of course, another way is to go and visit somebody who already has developed their intuitive abilities, somebody like me, and there are lots of people about. And so, some of them do it directly. Some of them use an intermediary, like, like tarot cards or something like that. But that can still be a way of them connecting with your guides. So, for example, Doreen Virtue, she's very famous. She's got all sorts of different card decks to help you connect with angels or ascended masters or even unicorns. And then, the next way, which is the way that I do it, because I've spent many years evolving my intuitive faculties, is, that you can, and everyone can do this, you can learn to see them. You can learn to hear them. You can learn to know that they are there and feel them around you. So you can communicate with them through your intuitive seeing. And remember I said earlier that they don't have a gender, but often they will project, what they'll do is they will project an image that you can see that feels familiar to you, that is something that's that you're going to identify with, so that it helps to build the relationship between the two of you. So they'll appear in different ways, maybe male, maybe female, maybe like a wise old Taoist master, or or a doctor from the 1940s, whatever it is, just an image to make you feel comfortable. And of course, they can speak to you through your clear hearing or your clairaudience, which I use a lot when I'm communicating with my guides, actually. And of course, one more way, which is, made famous by people like J.Z. Knight and Jane Roberts, and these people actually channel guides. And that means that they vacate their body and allow this other being to come in and operate through their body, which I personally don't advocate because, you can just learn to have a conversation with them without allowing them to take over your body, which is the way I do it. Hello everybody, and welcome back after that short break. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. Welcome to everybody, and we're going to see whether there's anybody waiting on the switchboard. Hello Corey, do we have a caller today?
We don't have a caller on just yet, but we did have some emails come in. I love the people that send emails in. They're really they keep us busy.
Yeah.
The first one is from Lindsay, and her question is, please help me. My memory is gone, and I feel stuck. I can't get words out, and I stutter. I can't communicate with my guides or angels. It feels like they're too far away to hear me. I think my brow and crown chakras are blocked.
Great question. Thank you for sending that in to us, Lindsay. And before I answer, I guess I'll just, for people listening who don't know what a chakra is, I'll just explain. The chakras are energy centers, and they exist throughout your energy field, and they are conduits to your spiritual information. And so that's why Lindsay is referring to them when she's talking about communicating with her spirit guides, because these are the locations of different intuitive abilities that we can use to tune into spirit guides. Anyway, now that said, I'm going to tune in to her energy and have a look at what is going on. And of course, for those of you tuning in for the first time, I'll just explain how I do this. I read from trance state, which means I just take a moment to adjust my chakras, my energy field, and I tune into the caller or the emailer's energy, and I answer it that way. So I'm just tuning in now, taking a look at Lindsay. And of course, the first thing that I am seeing, Lindsay, about you is that you are not very grounded. If you're a regular to the show, you'll know I talk about grounding a lot. And the reason I talk about grounding a lot is it's sort of spiritual communication 101. It's life 101, actually, because it helps you, the high vibration spiritual being, get into your body. And once you're in your body, start to be in control of all of your faculties and in your life in general. And so you're not grounded. And that's the first thing. And so the reason that what is actually far away is not your guides, it's you. You are far away from your body. So you're drifting out in space a little bit, Lindsay. So, you can go to the Dr. Lesley Phillips website and subscribe, and you get a free stuff. And one of the free things that you can get is a grounding meditation. So I recommend that you do that if you haven't done that already. And then I'm going to just take a look at what else is showing up. And then the second thing that's showing up is your relationship with your clairvoyance. So you talked about your brow chakra. So that's the location of your clairvoyance. And I'm seeing it's almost like you're playing a little game of peep with your clairvoyance. Sometimes you are accessing it, and sometimes you are not. So you're being selective with your clairvoyance. And I'm seeing that the selectivity has to do with being afraid of what might be communicated to you by your guides or being afraid of what you might see. So number one, the being afraid of what you might see, I'm seeing that there's a concept that if you see something, then you become responsible for it. And that's absolutely not true. It would be like, if you were walking down the street and you witnessed somebody being run over, would you be responsible for that because you'd seen it? No, you wouldn't. And the same thing applies when you're using your spiritual sight. You're an observer. You're not responsible for what you're seeing. And so it looks like you've got some inner work to do on yourself in letting go of feelings of responsibility. If I see something about somebody, then I'm going to have to tell them. That's not true either. I never tell anybody anything unless they ask me, unless they want me to. That's a little ethical guideline that I use. I know not everybody does that. There's all those TV shows, isn't there, like the Long Island Medium, and they have to, as soon as they get an insight, they have to run and tell somebody, but it's not true. You don't have to. So letting go of your responsibility would help you too. And then the fear has to do with some stuff from when you were a little girl, and you saw some things that the adults around you would rather that you hadn't seen, and there were things that you weren't supposed to see. You saw them with your spiritual sight, so you knew about them and you spoke about them, and then you were reprimanded for knowing things and saying things that you shouldn't. And I'm seeing that also got you being very selective about what you let yourself see. I'm going to take a look at the issue of the crown chakra, and this is the center that helps you to tune into your knowingness, your ability to simply know something. You don't know how you know, why you know, you just know it. And it's also responsible for, it's the place where spirit enters the body. So your transmediumship. And so the more you ground, the more you'll also use your transmediumship because you're bringing your own spirit into your body. But let's take a look at how that's, and I can see that you're absolutely right that there's definitely, it's definitely looking a bit stuck. So bear with me and I'll see if I can figure out why. So the reason is this. I'm seeing you're actually quite a capable transmedium, but you're not you've not sort of succeeded in gaining a level of control and mastery over that. And here's a myth for any of you sort of spiritual seekers out there. People often think that what they need to do when they're on a spiritual path and they meditate is just open their chakras as wide as they possibly can, and that's how you become enlightened, and that's how you get to do all of this stuff. And it's actually not true. The key is mastery and control, understanding what you're dealing with and how you need to have it configured in order to get the result that you want. So I'm seeing what happened to you, Lindsay, is you fell into that trap of opening your crown chakra really wide. And you actually only need it open about 10% in order to channel yourself and God. And any wider than that, it leaves you open to other energies. So I'm seeing that what happened is that a whole bunch of other energies are invading your space, and it's like being tuned in to 50 radio channels all at once. And you're just wanting to tune into a few. You want to tune into yourself, you're wanting to communicate with your angels and your guides, and instead, everybody out there is interfering with those signals because you've opened your crown chakra really wide. So that's a lot of information, Lindsay, and you're welcome to write to me again at info@drlesleyphillips.com if any of that wasn't clear or you feel you need some more help with that. 450. Hi, Corey.
Hello, Leslie. We have had another email question come in.
Great.
Email question is from Corey, but not me. Different Corey. I try to figure out who are my angels. They bring good things and help me get clear.
It's an interesting question. I'm not sure if it's a girl or a boy, but who their angels are. And she says, or he says, they bring me good things and help me get clear. So Corey is well aware of these beings assisting her or him, and wants to know who they are. So I'm not too sure what that means, is what their names are or what kind of beings they are, but I'll take a look anyway, Corey, and see what I can see about your angels. Well, I would validate that there's actually one angelic being that is working really, really closely with you. And just for illustration purposes, everyone, the way that I'm seeing this being is that it's a being made of light, pure light, very high vibration, just looks like light particles, and being projected into sort of a vague image that is reminds me a little bit of, for some reason, the Statue of Liberty is the image that's being projected. But anyway, I'm going to... Oh, okay, and the reason that this angel is projecting that image of the Statue of Liberty is because it's showing me the scales of justice. And it looks like one of the things that this angelic being is helping you with, Corey, is balance. It's helping you with balance in all areas of your life. And, you know, intellectually, I'm not thinking of all the different names of the angels, but maybe if you Google whether there's a particular angel that is the angel of balance and justice, then that might be the one that is working with you. And let me just see if there's anything else in particular about how a message that the angel wants to give you. No, the message that the angel is giving me has to do with... so it was showing me, it was sprinkling sand onto the scales. And the message was, it's like you always sprinkle sand. And it's like, you know what, you could grab some great big handfuls of the stuff, you know. So it's sort of like a message about go for it, really. That you have a tendency to be a little bit tentative, you know, dip your toe in the water, try a little bit, and the angel is saying, you know, there's so much life out there waiting for you if you, you know, embrace it with your open arms and just dive straight into it. And so, yeah, that's fabulous, Corey. You've got a really wonderful spirit guide there who obviously you're well aware of, you're communicating with, you know that it's helping bringing you things. And I'll see if there's any last thing that this the last thing it's saying is be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself, because the other thing it's saying is that you often have high expectations of yourself. So sometimes it's about balance between the going for it and also, you know, the downtime as well. Welcome back, everybody. We were talking about spirit guides today, but you can call up with any question at all. And if you're shy, you could email us at info@drlesleyphillips.com. So I'm going to go to the producer again and see if we have any calls waiting. So come on, don't be shy. Oh, here we go. Hello, Corey.
Do have another email question for you. What is the quickest path to hear what the ethers and animals are saying to me? So let me just repeat that to you one more time. What is the quickest path to hear what the ethers and animals are saying to me? And that call came in from Della.
Great. Thank you, Corey. Wonderful. So let's see, Della, what is the quickest path to hear what the ethers and animals are saying to you? So, I assume by ethers that you are meaning the spirit world. And once again, for the callers, the way I do this is I tune into the energy of the person asking the question. So it just takes me a little moment to do that. And I'm tuning into Della's energy, and we're asking what's the quickest path to hear what the ethers and animals are saying to her? Well, I kind of want to say, Della, what do you want to know from them? I'm sort of seeing, well, if you want to pick up a conversation with any of these beings, you can reach out and communicate. I'm not seeing that there's specific messages coming to you from the animals, but I will just use this to do a little bit of teaching here, and that's the animal kingdom. The main way that they communicate is through a spiritual ability called telepathy. So obviously they don't communicate with language like we do. They communicate with non-verbal transmissions that is telepathy. So what I'll do, Della, is I'll take a look at your telepathic channels and see if this is an ability that you have that is something that you could develop to become an animal communicator. So let's just take a look. So and the answer to that would actually be yes. I'm seeing that, and again, I'll just use this to do a little bit more teaching, but every single one of us has our own unique profile of intuitive abilities that we were born with, and we were born with them sort of configured in a particular way because they serve us by being that way in fulfilling our life purpose. And so this lifetime, Della, for sure, this is a focus for you, I'm seeing. And I'm seeing that it is an aspect that you are not using to its full capacity right now. So one of the answers to your question would be to open to and develop your telepathy and to clear what is blocking you from using your telepathy. And I'll take a look at what's blocking you also. And of course there's two forms of telepathy. One is called narrowband telepathy and the other is called broadband telepathy. And the narrowband is communicating one-on-one with people or animals, and the broadband is with groups of people. So let's just and I'm seeing that let's see, for you it looks like both of those are something that you could be doing. And what is, and I'm going to just look at why you are not, what's blocking you. Bear with me while I look at that. So I'm seeing one of the reasons that you turned it down is something, we'll call it mixed messages. And so I'm seeing, again, as a child, you had some experiences with your telepathy where you received mixed messages. So a lot of people out there in the world today, we're not honest, are we? We might be feeling one way inside of ourselves and we say something different. Oh no, everything's fine, I'm fine, or oh no, I like you. But what the truth can be something completely different. Like, I'm not fine, I feel really dreadful, or I feel really angry, or actually I don't like you at all, I really judge you. And so what happens with somebody who is sensitive is they'll experience the person verbally telling them what they're telling them, but they'll also receive the subtle signal underneath the words, and thereby receiving a mixed message. I like you, I don't like you. I'm fine, I'm not fine. And it becomes very confusing. It becomes crazy making. And so that's actually number one reason why a lot of people turn down their telepathy, because human beings, we're all facades and masks and ego, and we don't wear the truth on our sleeves. And so, for a child, it can just make you feel crazy and be very confusing. And so, now as an adult, I think, Della, that, this is something that you could work on clearing those childhood experiences so that you can have your telepathy in present time and enjoy it. Now, I'm going to see if there's anything else that we want to mention, because you asked about animals and the ethers. So let's look at the ethers, which I'm assuming you're meaning, your spirit guides. And well, I'm seeing for you that telepathy is a way that you can communicate with them, and I'm also seeing light up some other aspects of your communication center in your throat. There are actually 5 different ways of spiritual communication in that throat center. Broad and narrowband telepathy are 2 of them. Inner voice is another. Clairaudience, hearing of spirit, is another. And there's something called pragmatic intuition. And so I'm seeing that the other 2 that are in profile for you are the inner voice and the clairaudience. Inner voice is that voice inside of you that it's you speaking to yourself, speaking to your body personality. And clairaudience is a channel that you can communicate with other beings. And so, again, I'm seeing you've blocked the clairaudience, and it just looks like there's some stuff from when you were a child of being overwhelmed with different intuitive signals and feeling like you were a bit crazy, and so you just out of fear shut them down, basically what happened. All right. So I hope that's given you some useful information, Della. And we have time for one more caller for today's show. Hello, do we have a caller or an email now?
Hello, Lesley. We have another email, and the email is from Sherry with an I. When will I be able to get back to seeing, feeling, and hearing spirits? Is this my path?
Great question. Thank you, Sherry. All right, so when will I be able to get back to seeing, feeling, and hearing spirits? I'm going to tune into Sherry, and of course everything I said about the previous caller is relevant here. So Sherry's aware that she has these intuitive abilities, and for her they were seeing as spirit, feeling as spirit, and hearing as spirit. Clairvoyance, clairsentience, and clairaudience. So I'm going to take a look at these aspects for Sherry. Well, let me see what's blocking you here. What's blocking you is invalidation. It looks like something has happened that's caused you to question your abilities, that's caused you to feel invalidated about them. And that's not altogether uncommon. I always feel being an intuitive, being in inverted commas, psychic, it's almost like the last taboo of what you can be in this world, It's okay to be so many things, but there are still people out there that judge these abilities, or who, believe that they are not real. And so when somebody, is demonstrating them, well, it's your imagination, or worse, that you're doing something that's unnatural in some way, and neither of those things are true. So I'll see if I can get some more specific information for you, Sherry, about what that invalidation has to do with. And it's funny, because as soon as those words came out of my mouth, your energy shifted, and the way that it shifted is you got angry. So clearly this is struck a chord with you that that these people who have invalidated these abilities and contributed to you shutting yourself down, it's made you mad. And that's great, because if you can get angry about this, that's one of the first steps that you can do to get back to reclaiming them, because at least when you're angry, the energy is moving and the energy is shifting. So, when will you be able to get back to doing these things? Well, the answer is it really depends on you and how quickly you can clear this invalidation. And now the other part of your question was, is this my path? So let's take a look at how these 3 aspects relate to your path. And of course, I don't know anything else about you, Sherry, but let's see what we can find out about this. Well, the first thing about the clairvoyance is it's like you really, really wanted the clairvoyance so that you could tell the truth from a lie. Clairvoyance, clear seeing, helps you have your clarity, right? It's not possible for somebody to pull the wool over your eyes when you have your clairvoyance, because you can see the truth. You can see when somebody is lying to you. You can even see when you're lying to yourself. And so I'm seeing that having clarity about your truth is something that's very important to you. And I'm almost feeling a vibration of a little bit of the legal profession in some way here. And so, I know all sorts of people out there in professional jobs who actually use their intuitive abilities. And I know a fantastic human rights lawyer who uses her clairvoyance all the time, because that is, so beneficial in the courtroom, wouldn't it, to see who's a liar and who isn't. And I'm getting that same kind of frequency from you, Sherry. So that's and then the hearing spirits. Again, it's so that you can hear the truth, so that you can work with, some trusted helpers and really know the truth about your life circumstances. And the clairsentience, the clear feeling, it looks like there's an aspect of empathy or compassion. Clairsentience is where you can tell how other people are feeling, whether they tell you verbally or not. You can tell how they're feeling. But it's actually its primary purpose is so that you can tell how you are feeling. So it's whereas the inner voice is how you, the spiritual being, communicates with your body personality. The clairsentience, the clear feeling, is how your body communicates with you, the spirit, about how it's experiencing its reality. And the goal is, harmony between body and spirit. Body and spirit working together. So, is this on my path? Yes, it is on your path. But, we tend to think somebody with these intuitive gifts, that means that their path is to be, a psychic or a professional intuitive or a medium or something. And it not necessarily. You can have these gifts and you can be, I know a detective in the Vancouver Police Department who uses their intuitive gifts. Like I said, I know a lawyer. You can be in any realm or aspect of society using your intuitive gifts. So absolutely, you wanted to use them, you're meant to use them, but don't get caught up on a perfect ideal or expectation of, therefore, how would you be using them. So we are at the end of our show. It's been fabulous connecting with you all.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to her website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.